Welcome to Quiz Time. I'm your Quizmaster Sean, and I've got 100 questions for you about World War II trivia. Okay, history buffs, let's see what you know and what you remember, and let's have a little fun doing it, shall we? Let's begin. What year did Japan invade China, marking the start of the Second Sino-Japanese War? Was it 1939, 1935, or was it 1937? It was 1937. What infamous event in Nanjing, China, took place in 1937 through 1938? The Long March, the Nanjing Massacre, or the Opium War? It was the Nanjing Massacre. Which city in Japan was the first to be targeted with an atomic bomb? Was it Hiroshima, Nagasaki, or Kyoto? The first Japanese city to be hit with an atomic bomb was Hiroshima. What Southeast Asian country was occupied by Japan and renamed Burma during World War II? Was it Myanmar, Thailand, or Laos? The country that was Burma is Myanmar. What was the main purpose of Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941? Was it to invade Hawaii, to cripple the U.S. Pacific Fleet, or to declare war on the Allies? The main purpose of the Pearl Harbor bombing was to cripple the U.S. Pacific Fleet. What was the name of Japan's alliance with Germany and Italy during World War II? Were they called the Central Powers, the Allied Powers, or the Axis Powers? They were referred to as the Axis Powers. What was the Japanese military's secretive radio encryption system called? Was it called Cipher X, Purple Code, or was it called Enigma? The Japanese encryption code was called the Purple Code. Which Southeast Asian country declared independence from the Dutch during World War II with Japanese support? Was it Vietnam, Indonesia, or was it Malaysia? It was Indonesia. What major battle took place in the Philippines in 1944 and 1945? Was it the Battle of Leyte Gulf, the Battle of Corregidor, or was it the Battle of Bataan? It was the Battle of Leyte Gulf. What was the name of the forced march of American and Filipino prisoners of war in 1942? That forced march was called the Bataan Death March. Which Chinese city served as a temporary capital during the Japanese occupation of Nanjing? And that temporary capital was Chongqing. Which Asian country maintained neutrality during World War II, but was surrounded by warring nations? Was it India, Mongolia, or was it Afghanistan? It was Afghanistan. What was the primary god of the Doolittle raid? What was the primary goal of the Doolittle raid in Japan in 1942? To boost Allied morale, to capture Emperor Hirohito, or to destroy Tokyo? That was to boost Allied morale. What was the name of the puppet state established by Japan in northeast China? Liaodong, Formosa, or Manchukuo? And it was Manchukuo. Who was the Emperor of Japan during World War II? Akihito, Hirohito, or Meiji? The Emperor of Japan during World War II was Emperor Hirohito. What Asian country did Japan invade in 1941, prompting the fall of Singapore? Was it Malaysia, Indonesia, or was it Thailand? It was Malaysia. What major sea battle in the Pacific occurred in 1942, marking a turning point against Japan? Was it the Battle of Midway, the Battle of Coral Sea, or the Battle of Okinawa? It was the Battle of Midway. What was the primary resource Japan sought from Southeast Asia during World War II? Was it rubber, gold, or oil? And the primary resource Japan sought was oil. Which Allied leader met Chiang Kai-shek and Winston Churchill in the Cairo Conference of 1943? That Allied leader was Franklin D. Roosevelt. Which Korean port city was heavily utilized by the Japanese for military operations? Was it Pyongyang, Busan, or Incheon? And the Japanese heavily used Busan. What Pacific island nation was the site of fierce fighting at Guadalcanal? The Solomon Islands, Fiji, or Samoa? Guadalcanal. That fight took place in the Solomon Islands. What is the name of the island group Japan occupied in 1941, now part of the United States? That island group that is now part of the United States is the Mariana Islands. What major battle took place on the volcanic island of Iwo Jima in 1945? The Battle of Iwo Jima, the Guadalcanal Offensive, or was it the Okinawa Campaign? It was the Battle of Iwo Jima. Which archipelago was strategically important for U.S. forces during the island hopping campaign? Was it the Aleutian Islands, the Marshall Islands, or was it the Philippines? It was the Marshall Islands. Which island in the Pacific housed the infamous Changi prison during the war? Was it Java? Was it Sumatra? Or was it Singapore? It was Singapore. What Micronesian island became a critical base for the Japanese Navy in World War II? The Micronesian island that was a critical base was Palau. What island was the site of the last major battle of World War II in the Pacific? Was it Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, or was it Okinawa? The last major battle of World War II was Okinawa. Which island chain was recaptured by U.S. forces in the Battle of Leyte Gulf? Was it the Philippines? Was it the Solomon Islands? Or was it the Mariana Islands? It was the Philippines. I shall return. What Pacific Island nation used traditional navigational techniques to assist Allied forces? Samoa, Tonga, or was it Micronesia? It was Micronesia. Which Japanese island was a key base for kamikaze attacks near the end of World War II? The Japanese island, a base for kamikaze attacks. They used Okinawa to stage those attacks. What island nation in the Indian Ocean became a base for Allied naval operations? Was it Seychelles, Ceylon, or was it the Maldives? It was Ceylon. Which Pacific island became a U.S. trust territory after World War II? Was it Guam? Was it Palau? Or was it Fiji? It was Palau. What major World War II battle was fought near the Mariana Islands? The Battle of Coral Sea, the Battle of Midway, or the Battle of the Philippine Sea? Twas the Battle of the Philippine Sea. Which small island in the Pacific was attacked by Japan hours after Pearl Harbor? Was it Saipan, Wake Island, or was it Guam? After they got done bombing Pearl Harbor, they went on and attacked Wake Island. Which Pacific Island group became critical in the Allied victory in the Battle of Coral Sea? Was it Fiji? Or was it the Solomon Islands? Or was it New Guinea? It was the Solomon Islands. What island in the Pacific served as a key base for the U.S. bombers targeting Japan? Was it Tinian, Guam, or Okinawa? The key base for the U.S. bombers was Tinian. Which Pacific island housed the infamous Japanese prison camp on Palawan? Was it Palawan, Luzon, or Mindoro? Well, of course, it was Palawan. Which Polynesian island group remained relatively untouched by combat during World War II? Was it Fiji, Tonga, or was it the Cook Islands? It was the Cook Islands. What was the name of the Japanese-held island taken by U.S. Marines in the Gilbert Islands campaign? Was it Truk, Kwajalein, or Tarawa? It was Tarawa. Which tropical island served as the staging ground for the Battle of New Guinea? Was it Papua, Sulawesi, or Borneo? It was Papua. What event is considered the official start of World War II in Europe? The German invasion of Poland, the fall of France, or was it the Battle of Britain? It was the German invasion of Poland, which started World War II officially. Which battle is considered the turning point on the Eastern Front? The turning point of the war on the Eastern Front was the Battle of Stalingrad. What was the name of the Allied operation that landed troops on the beaches of Normandy in 1944? Was it Operation Market Garden? Was it Operation Overlord? Or was it Operation Torch? It was Operation Overlord. Who was the leader of the Soviet Union during World War II? The leader of the Soviet Union during World War II. That would be Joseph Stalin. What was the code name for Hitler's plan to invade the Soviet Union? Was it Operation Sea Lion, Operation Barbarossa, or was it Operation Valkyrie? It was Operation Barbarossa. Which French leader led the Free France movement during World War II? The French leader leading the Free France movement, that would be Charles de Gaulle. What country was the first to be invaded by Nazi Germany? Was it Belgium, Czechoslovakia, or was Poland the first to go? It was Poland. What agreement in 1938 allowed Germany to annex the Sudetenland? The Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, the Munich Agreement, or was it the Treaty of Versailles? That 1930 agreement was the Munich Agreement. Which European capital was occupied by the Nazis but never fully surrendered? Was it Paris? Was it Brussels? Or was it Warsaw? It was Warsaw. What was the name of the Nazi plan to exterminate the Jews of Europe? That insidious plan was the Final Solution. What was the last major German offensive in the West, fought in 1944 and 45? Was it the Battle of Berlin, the Battle of the Bulge, or the Battle of Kursk? It was the Battle of the Bulge. Which country switched from the Axis to the Allies in 1943? Was it Romania? Was it Italy? Or was it Hungary? Switching sides in 1943? That would be Hungary. What was the largest concentration camp established by the Nazis? Was it Auschwitz, Bergen-Belsen, or was it Dachau? It was Auschwitz. What British city endured heavy bombing during the Blitz? The British city that took the heaviest bombing? Well, that would be London. Who served as the British Prime Minister for most of World War II? Was it Winston Churchill? Was it Neville Chamberlain? Or was it Clement Attlee? For most of World War II, that would be Winston Churchill. What was the name of the Allied operation to invade Italy? Was it Operation Torch? Was it Operation Husky? Or was it Operation Dragon? That was Operation Husky. Which Scandinavian country was occupied by Germany but never surrendered formally? Was it Sweden? Was it Finland? Or was it Norway that never really gave up? That was Norway. What battle is considered the largest tank battle in history? Was it the Battle of Bulge, the Battle of Kursk, or the Battle of El Alamein? It was the Battle of Kursk. What European city was divided into 4 occupation zones after World War II? and the city being divided up into 4 zones was Berlin. Which Nazi leader was in charge of the Luftwaffe? Was it Joseph Goebbels, Heinrich Himmler, or was Hermann Göring in charge of the Luftwaffe? And that was Hermann Göring. What event brought the United States into World War II? Was it the attack on Pearl Harbor? Was it the sinking of the Lusitania? Or was it the German U-boat attacks? It was the attack on Pearl Harbor that brought the U.S. in. Who was the U.S. president during most of World War II? Was it Franklin D. Roosevelt? Was it Herbert Hoover? Or was it Harry Truman? For most of World War II, it was Franklin D. Roosevelt. What was the American military strategy in the Pacific called? Was it called Scorched Earth, Island Hopping, or was it Blitzkrieg? The American military strategy. That was Island Hopping. What was the name of the secret project that developed the atomic bomb? Was it the Trinity Project, the Los Alamos Initiative, or was it called the Manhattan Project? It was called the Manhattan Project. Which Allied conference determined the post-war division of Europe? The Allied Conference determined the division of Europe. Post-war was the Yalta Conference. What was the code name for the Allied invasion of North Africa? Was it called Operation Torch? Was it called Operation Avalanche? Or was it Operation Husky? That was Operation Torch. What U.S. general famously said, "I shall return," after leaving the Philippines? Was that Dwight D. Eisenhower, George S. Patton, or was it Douglas MacArthur? "I shall return." That was said by Douglas MacArthur. And he did. What was the primary role of Mexico in World War II? Sending troops to Europe, harboring Axis leaders, or providing oil and raw materials to the Allies? Mexico provided oil and raw materials to the Allies. What was the name of the Mexican Air Force squadron that fought in World War II? The Mexican Air Force squadron was the Aztec Eagles. Which U.S. battleship is now a memorial to those who died at Pearl Harbor? Was it the USS Missouri, the USS Arizona, or was it the USS Oklahoma? It was the USS Arizona. What major decision did the U.S. make at the Casablanca Conference in 1943? To invade France immediately, to cease operations in the Pacific, or to demand unconditional surrender from the Axis powers? It was to demand unconditional surrender from the Axis powers. What famous Allied general led the D-Day invasion? The general in charge of the D-Day invasion? That was General Dwight D. Eisenhower. What was the name of the agreement between the U.S. and Britain for the post-war world? Was it the 14 Points, the Atlantic Charter, or was it the Yalta Agreement? It was the Atlantic Charter. What was the first major battle fought by American troops in Europe? Was it the Battle of the Bulge, the Battle of Catherine Pass, or was it the Battle of Normandy? It was the Battle of Catherine Pass. Which Canadian beach was one of the landing points on D-Day? Juno Beach was where the Canadian troops landed. What was the main objective of the United States Victory Gardens? To promote self-sufficiency at home, to supply the troops with food, or boost morale among farmers? Victory Gardens were meant to promote self-sufficiency at home. What was the name of the U.S. military decoration awarded to soldiers wounded in action? Did they get the Silver Star? Did they get the Medal of Honor? Or was it the Purple Heart that they received? If you were wounded in battle, you got the Purple Heart. What was the largest naval battle of World War II in the Pacific? The largest naval battle of World War II in the Pacific was the Battle of Leyte Gulf. What role did the Navajo Code Talkers play in World War II? They were translators for the Allies, they were intelligence officers in Europe, or they developed unbreakable communication codes. The Code Talkers developed unbreakable communication codes. What was the name of the American pilot training program in Mexico during World War II? The School of the Americas, the Eagle Squadron Initiative, or the Aztec Training Project? It was the School of the Americas. What event marked Australia's direct involvement in World War II? The bombing of Darwin, the attack on Sydney Harbor, or was it the Battle of Singapore? It was the bombing of Darwin. What was the name of the battle where Australian forces stopped the Japanese advance in Papua New Guinea? And the battle where the Australian forces stopped the Japanese was the Kokoda Track Campaign. Which Australian city was bombed by Japanese forces in 1942, marking the largest attack on Australian soil? Was it Sydney, was it Darwin, or was it Brisbane? It was Darwin. What was the role of the Australian Women's Land Army during the war? Was it producing weapons and ammunition? Was it nursing injured soldiers? Or was it replacing men on farms to maintain food production? It was replacing men on farms to maintain food production. What was the name of the Japanese midget submarine attack in Australia in 1942? Was it the Brisbane River Raid, the Battle of Port Phillip Bay, or was it the Sydney Harbor attack? It was the Sydney Harbor attack. Which lesser-known island group was occupied by Japanese forces during World War II? The lesser-known island group, that was the Aleutian Islands. What was the significance of Timor during World War II? It was a major base for Allied forces? Was it the Australian and Dutch forces waging guerrilla warfare against Japanese occupation? Or was it the site of the largest naval battle in the Pacific? Australian and Dutch forces waged guerrilla warfare against Japanese occupation. Which Pacific island nation saw fierce battles involving Australian troops? Was it Samoa? Was it New Guinea? Or was it Fiji? It was New Guinea. What was the main objective of Japanese forces in targeting Australia? Why did the Japanese forces target Australia? To cut off Allied supply lines and establish dominance in the Pacific. What was the Brisbane Line? A proposed plan for defending Northern Australia, a communication line between Australia and New Zealand, or a strategy to defend only the southeastern portion of Australia in case of invasion. It was a strategy to defend only the southeastern portion of Australia in case of invasion. What role did the Fuzzy Wuzzy Angels play in World War II? They were Australian pilots, Papua New Guinea locals who aided Australian soldiers, or a nickname for Australian nurses in the Pacific. The Fuzzy Wuzzy Angels, Papua New Guinean locals who aided Australian soldiers. Which island nation provided support to Allied operations in the Pacific? Was it Kiribati, Vanuatu, or was it Tonga? And providing support for Allied operations was Tonga. Which African country did Australian forces help liberate during World War II? Was it Ethiopia? Was it Egypt? Or was it Libya? It was Ethiopia. What was the importance of the Battle of Milne Bay? It was a turning point in the Coral Sea Campaign. It was the first defeat of Japanese forces in a land battle by Allied forces. Or was it marking the end of the war in the Pacific? It was the first defeat of Japanese forces in a land battle by Allied forces. What was Australia's relationship with the United States during World War II? Australia's relationship with the United States. The U.S. stationed troops in Australia and used it as a base for Pacific operations. Which Indian city served as a critical Allied supply hub during World War II? Was it Mumbai? Was it Kolkata? Or was it Chennai? It was Kolkata. What role did the island of New Caledonia play in World War II? It was used to intern German prisoners, or did it become a vital Allied naval base in the Pacific, or was it occupied by Japanese forces? New Caledonia became a vital Allied naval base in the Pacific. What was the primary role of Fiji in World War II? Fighting in major Pacific naval battles, sending troops to Europe, or hosting Allied airfields and supply bases? The primary role of Fiji was hosting Allied airfields and supply bases. Which Southeast Asian country did Australian forces fight in during World War II? Was it Laos? Was it Thailand? Or was it Myanmar? Or now, Burma? Or then Burma? It was Myanmar. And now question 100. What was the main reason for Japanese interest in the Solomon Islands during World War II? Why were the Japanese interested in the Solomon Islands? To use them as a base to attack Australia and other Pacific nations. Thanks for playing Quiz Time. Drop your score in the comments, please. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. That way, you'll be notified when Quiz Time comes out. And a new one comes out really quite often. Have a great one, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.